In 9 AD, 3 Roman legions vanished in the forests of Germania, ambushed and destroyed by tribes led by Arminius, a man Rome once trusted. This was the Varian disaster, the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, a defeat that shattered Rome's sense of invincibility. The loss of nearly 20,000 soldiers, and worse, the legion's golden eagles, was a humiliation that haunted the empire. Emperor Augustus was tormented by the disaster, famously crying out for his lost legions. The eagles, sacred symbols of Roman power, became an obsession. The world beyond Rome's borders had proven it could fight back and win. Into this crisis stepped Germanicus, adopted son of Tiberius, sent to the Rhine to avenge Varus and restore Roman pride. Germanicus was everything Rome wanted in a hero, charismatic, brilliant, and relentless. His mission was personal for Rome: march into the haunted forest, recover the lost eagles, and erase the shame of defeat. From 14 to 16 AD, Germanicus led brutal campaigns deep into hostile territory, facing the same dangers that destroyed Varus. For his soldiers, it was more than a campaign. It was a pilgrimage to reclaim their comrades and the symbols of their power. The ghost of Teutoburg had to be laid to rest. Germanicus's story, immortalized by Tacitus, became a legend of vengeance, cultural clash, and the forging of Roman myth. He pushed his legions to the edge, driven by the need to restore Rome's honor. The fate of the lost legions and their eagles became a rallying cry for the empire. This was not just about territory, it was about the soul of Rome. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic chapters in Roman military history. The legionary eagle was the soul of a Roman legion. Losing it was the ultimate disgrace. The capture of 3 eagles at Teutoburg was a catastrophe, a wound to Roman pride that demanded healing. When Germanicus reached the site of the disaster, he found a landscape of death: bleached bones, shattered weapons, and skulls nailed to trees. He and his men gathered the remains of the fallen and built a burial mound, restoring dignity to the dead. But the eagles were still missing. Their recovery became the heart of Germanicus's campaign. In 15 AD, after defeating the Chatti and raiding the Marsi, Germanicus's forces recovered the first lost eagle. Rome celebrated wildly. It was proof the gods had not abandoned them. The next year, a second eagle was recaptured from the Bructeri after another fierce battle. Each eagle's return was a step toward healing the wound of 9 AD. The eagles were paraded as symbols of renewed strength and resilience. The third and final eagle was recovered decades later under Emperor Claudius, completing the story of redemption. The recovery of all 3 eagles allowed Rome to reframe the disaster as a temporary setback, overcome by Roman persistence. The eagles became central to the imagery of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, reinforcing the emperors as restorers of Roman honor. Their loss and recovery became a foundational myth of the early empire. The story was no longer just about defeat, it was about Rome's ability to rise again. The eagle's journey from loss to recovery became a symbol of imperial resilience. Rome's honor, once stained, was restored for a new generation. Germanicus's campaigns were a triumph, but in 16 AD, Emperor Tiberius recalled him to Rome. Tiberius, ever cautious, decided the cost of conquering Germania was too high. The era of relentless Roman expansion was over. The empire would now defend, not extend, its borders. The Rhine River, once a temporary frontier, became a permanent fortified border. Rome shifted from offense to defense, building the Limes Germanicus, a vast system of forts, watchtowers, and barriers. Legions became a garrison force, stationed along the Rhine for decades. This changed. The army soldiers became rooted in frontier communities, spreading Roman culture. Rome also recruited auxiliaries from conquered peoples, including Germanic tribes, turning former enemies into defenders. The defensive frontier, manned by legionaries and auxiliaries, defined Roman military policy for centuries. The dream of conquering Germania died, but the Rhine became a lasting boundary between worlds. The failure to conquer Germania shaped the empire's future. The Rhine frontier was a direct legacy of the Varian disaster. Rome's limits were now clear, and so was its resolve to hold what it had. The empire's mindset had changed forever. Across the Rhine, a different legend grew. Arminius, the man who defeated Rome. Once a Roman-trained noble, Arminius used his knowledge to unite the tribes and ambush Varus. His victory was both a military masterpiece and an act of cultural resistance. For the Germanic peoples, Arminius was the liberator who preserved their freedom. His memory lived on in songs and stories, celebrated as the man who stopped the unstoppable. Tacitus, even as a Roman, called him the liberator of Germany. Arminius proved that unity could defeat empire, but his own attempts to rule ended in betrayal. He was killed by his own people. His legend endured not as a founder of a state, but as a symbol of fierce independence. Arminius became the archetype of resistance, a hero who fought for liberty and paid the ultimate price. His story inspired generations, shaping a Germanic identity defined in opposition to Rome. The battle's legacy was not just Roman shame, but Germanic pride. Arminius's victory echoed through the centuries. For centuries, the true site of the Teutoburg battle was a mystery, until 1987, when discoveries at Calcresa changed everything. Archaeologists found Roman weapons, coins, and armor confirming a massive Roman defeat. The battlefield revealed a Roman army trapped and systematically destroyed, just as Tacitus described. Few Germanic weapons were found, showing the efficiency of the ambush. The evidence moved the story from myth to reality, showing how Arminius's trap worked, a bottleneck between hill and swamp, with a pre-built wall for the ambush. Archaeology revealed the human cost, mass graves of men and animals, confirming the scale of the tragedy. Modern scholarship now challenges old nationalist myths. The battle was not a simple clash of Germans versus Romans. The Roman army was multi-ethnic, and the Germanic alliance was fragile. The real story is one of a brutal, brilliantly executed ambush with complex consequences. Archaeology stripped away the romanticism, revealing the true nature of the conflict. The Teutoburg Forest became a case study in how myth and reality can diverge. Our main source for these events is Tacitus, whose annals shaped the story for generations. Tacitus cast Germanicus as the ideal Roman hero, contrasting him with the cautious, suspicious Tiberius. He used the story to critique imperial leadership, suggesting Rome's failure in Germania was due to jealousy, not strategy. Tacitus admired the Germanic love of freedom, but still saw them as barbarians, noble yet other. His account is vivid but deeply Roman-centric. The Germanic perspective is lost to history. Other sources like Suetonius and Cassius Dio echo this bias, focusing on Roman honor and imperial drama. The Germanic side survives only in fragments, songs and legends that have vanished. We see Teutoburg through Roman eyes, shaping our understanding of the conflict. The story is as much about Roman anxieties as it is about Germanic resistance. The imperial narrative endures even as new evidence reshapes the tale. The campaigns of Germanicus and the legacy of Teutoburg were more than military events. They were a clash of worlds. Rome sought order and control. The Germanic tribes fought for freedom from that order. The symbolism of lost and recovered eagles became imperial propaganda, reinforcing Roman resilience. Germanicus became a tragic hero, his memory a reminder of Rome's limits. For the Germanic peoples, Arminius was the ultimate freedom fighter, his victory a foundational myth. The Rhine frontier became a cultural and linguistic divide, shaping the map of Europe. To the west, Romance languages flourished. To the east, Germanic tongues endured. The failure to conquer Germania set Central and Northern Europe on a different path. The echoes of this clash shaped identities for centuries. The dark forests of Germany became the boundary between two worlds. 2,000 years later, the story of the lost eagles still resonates. It's a timeless lesson about the limits of power and the enduring desire for freedom. The events of Teutoburg show how a single defeat can become a powerful symbol, reinterpreted by each generation. The story warns of imperial overreach and the dangers of myth-making. Arminius's journey from liberator to nationalist icon to subject of critical inquiry shows how history is rewritten. The lost eagles endure because they speak to questions of identity, memory, and myth. The echoes of ancient battles still shape our world and our understanding of ourselves.